Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Baka. We are an anime podcast. Every 2 weeks, we watch a new anime, we come together, and we talk about it. It's a little bit different this week because we watched an anime movie instead of a 12-episode series, but we're still going to discuss it. It was our Christmas vacation. This is how we handle it. Now, to discuss the anime movie we watched, I need to introduce my co-host because, they're really what you're here for. Let me get to them. First off, we have the Neo to my Matrix, Jeremy. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. So,
how was your Christmas vacation?
It was really, really good. It was so nice not to have to go to work. Of course, Tanya actually said to me, "Hey, you wanna actually try out that new role-playing book that I got you for Christmas, Tunnels and Trolls?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's try that out." And so 6 hours later, we finally have some characters made.
Yep.
And so we start a story, and of course, it's just her and I, and so I'm GMing, and I don't really have a grasp on just how powerful all the enemies are. So the first encounter was like an entire team wipe. Everybody dies to snakes. and you know how I am. So I'm like, well, these guys are dead. Let's make some more characters. And she's like, no, I'm done.
6 hours.
Did you resurrect them?
Here's my question. Is it the RPG that takes forever to make characters or you?
It's me. I told her, I said, okay, to do this, you're going to have to let me read all of it out loud to you so you understand it too. So we're going chapter by chapter through it. It's great.
You have a very loving wife. You should be very grateful.
She's very patient with me.
All right. We also have. Can you guess? Can you guess what it's going to be?
I have some thoughts, but please continue.
The architect to my Matrix Reloaded, vis-a-vis Jason.
I'm actually not nearly as offended as you think I would be because I think there's a lot lost on most of the Matrix audience to that character. Anyways.
How are you, Jason?
Fantastic. I just cleared my tier 15s in Path of Exile, so we're reaching for Shaper. We're almost there. Besides that, finally took all the Christmas lights down and packed away the tree today. But that was good times.
Yeah, I know you're going to miss them. I'm sorry, man.
No, my wife is missing these tears as she's backing up ordnance and putting them in the box.
Christmas all year around.
That's not true.
Just got to leave them up.
I'm being dramatic.
My name is Troy.
The Lightning McQueen to my cars.
That could work.
Okay.
Is that is Cars an alternate reality and McQueen is a new important character in it?
They do say Cars is an apocalyptic future, so that does fit into the theme.
Ooh. That's scary.
Just for you, boy.
Okay. I watched a new series. Well, I finished a series that I've been keeping up with. The third season came out of a series of unfortunate events on Netflix starring Neil Patrick Harris. I absolutely loved it. It's very quirky. It's very almost cartoonish. They have a lot of fun with wordplay in the dialogue. A lot of wordplay in the dialogue. And it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. And way better than the Jim Carrey movie version. And it actually told the whole story of the entire book series. I really, really liked it. Watched it with my daughter, who's a big fan of the book series. And good stuff. Good stuff.
Also, NPH is a pretty amazing actor.
But due to it being very sad and bleak, you should not watch it.
Do they have a Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle series yet?
No. They're bringing back Carmen Sandiego, but they made her a good guy, and I'm very confused.
What?
Why would you want to find her? If she's a good guy, she should be easy to find.
She's stealing from thieves now, so now
come on.
So now everyone wants to find her, bad guys and good guys.
Somebody's reaching.
We should talk about the anime movie we watched.
Well, that's too bad.
Speaking of Netflix, it was on Netflix. It was called Blam. It is directed by a guy named Hiroyuki Sashita. The story is by Tsutoma Nii. He's done one other series besides Blam. And this is the manga story is who this writer is. He did Knights of Sidonia, the manga.
Imagine that.
Yeah, crazy. And this anime series is made by Polygon Pictures, and they have done a ton of anime Netflix that we've even featured some of on this podcast. They've done Knights of Sidonia. They did Ajin. They did this one, and they've also done the Godzilla movies. That the third one is coming out soon.
But you thoroughly enjoyed.
I thoroughly enjoyed the second one. First one was a bit of a struggle. Very similar to Knights of Sidonia. Like, this is hard to start into, and then once I got into it, it was fine. But so yeah, we're talking about the movie Blam. Now, the whole sell of this, from my understanding, is that this was a manga that is so complex that no one ever thought it would be adapted. It's unadaptable, right? Because you can't draw everything going on. And so Polygon Pictures took this on, and they're like, we finally adapted it. And so they made this movie. I had already seen it, but I promised Jeremy and Jason I wouldn't make them watch Teenagers Fall in Love again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
There were better movies to watch, and I am sorry to our audience, but these guys deserved a break. So let's go to our non-spoiler reviews. What'd you guys think of the movie?
I wasn't a big fan of it. I didn't hate my time with it, but I couldn't connect with any of the characters. And but the story had, like, everything about this screams potential. I think there was just a lot of missed opportunities, but if they're being faithful to the manga, then there's obviously a lot of content I'm missing personally. So I think for me, I don't think the movie did a good job engaging new viewers or new people to the series.
Okay, Jeremy, how about you?
I actually really liked it. I did have a big problem with the way it handled the ending, and there was a lot of confusion where I actually had to go back and rewatch the beginning to make sure I understood the ending, which I'm usually pretty good at picking this stuff up, so I don't think that's a good sign of storytelling. But mostly the pacing, I actually enjoyed it. I thought it did good to establish the atmosphere, but there was at the beginning a lot of things seemed to be a bit too hectic, a bit too fast paced. But overall, I really liked it. I think I did not know that there was a manga at all. And I watched this yesterday. So I just learned that there was a manga like 20 minutes ago. Oh. And so I didn't do any research on this either. So I'm going in completely blank here, but I want to watch more. Like, if this was a pilot, I would want to watch the series.
This is really strange for you, and also maybe a first.
I know. It's like one of those dreams where you find out you're in school and you're naked. It's like, what? No!
And dog ate the homework.
Yes.
I feel like I got lost there somewhere, but I think we're gonna move past.
How about you? Did you enjoy it?
Well, first, I want to address the audience. Jeremy and Jason don't agree on this anime. Let them fight.
Well, it's a short anime, being just a movie, so yeah. We know that it's not going to take you as long to tell the story. So we got to fill it with something, right?
True. Even though our movie episodes do tend to still go regular length, and so for me, this is, like I said, the second time I saw it. The first time, I'm pretty sure I fell asleep somewhere in the middle, and so some things didn't make a lot of sense. So when I watched it the second time, like, oh, this does make sense. I remember it not making sense, and like the barrier and stuff in it made sense this time. But I was still kind of bored, and I was telling you guys in the pre-show that to me this feels like a fan service movie. Like, if you are a fan of the manga, this movie was made for you, so you could finally see it exist. But as a new person coming in, I feel lost. I do think the story concept, the concept is very solid, but the characters didn't really grab me. They were kind of bland, which is the problem Knights of Sidonia has in its very beginning. I was mostly bored, and especially since I kind of knew what was coming for some of it, I also like wasn't excited about the action parts. It didn't rate very high for me. But I'm not going to argue with Jeremy. It's Jason Shop.
Come on, bring it. Bring it.
Okay. Was there an opening theme song? I guess that.
I don't think there was.
Look, I'm just following show notes, and someone forgot to edit it for the fact we watched a movie.
Which you make the show notes.
Right. So. Oh yeah, it's me.
Let's call you out.
Maybe we should reassign that. No. Let's go to our spoiler section. So from here on out, we will be discussing the plot, the characters, theories, themes. Again, no one has read the manga, so we are just guessing based on what is in this movie. Other than that, and feel free to fill in blanks for us.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to talk about the setup, the concept of this, which is that at some point, humankind lost control of AI machines that they were using for construction and all kinds of things, and they went rampant. And a large portion figured out humans must not belong here. Where's the people that's supposed to control us? It's not them. It's because we caught a virus.
Yeah, there was a virus that went rampant through the human population that removed the terminal gene.
The net
terminal gene.
Mm-hmm.
And so because nobody, basically, they couldn't find anyone with it. So, and anyone that they came across that didn't have it, they were like, oh, you're not supposed to be here. Pew, pew.
Which I thought that was really interesting because it says a lot about the culture that rose before and actually built the AI. And it also says a lot about the AI. Like, this is a very limited AI. There's some chances where we get to see the way that it moves its basically killer units, and it moves them in a straight line. Like, if you're programming AI, that is the simplest way to program an AI. And
go ahead.
Yeah, and so also the humans, like, why would you have an AI that's willing to target humans if they're not possessing this one specific gene that just happens to allow them to connect? It should still be like, oh, hey, no, you're a human. So clearly they had like this, we're going to clear out anyone who doesn't have it. They shouldn't be in the city, even if they're human. So
my theory on that part is similar to Asimov. Asimov?
Asimov.
Asimov. Mm-hmm. You've got the machine law for humans, right? Where, you don't hurt humans. Well, in order to have that law, they have to be able to distinguish what is a human, right? And they probably put this net terminal gene in as if X thing has net terminal gene, it equals human. Do not harm it and listen to its commands.
I agree, but I think that, like, since the machines were calling them, I think did they just call them illegal resident, or did they ever say humans? Like,
no, they say the legal residents.
But even so, like, one gene doesn't make a human, so they're
right.
As, like, a programmer, you gotta have some kind of redundancy there to protect your species.
Mm-hmm. I could see both being true. Honestly, it could go either way.
There's a lot of, like, if they had the pride and arrogance to do that, I could see them doing it. But I could also see there being humans that didn't have the gene, that they just didn't want in their city already, and the robots were fully capable of keeping their city free of those humans. Like, if this was just a niche of the human population that had this net terminal gene, that they,
that.
In history, it's referred to now as, like, all humans had it. But yeah, because the whole planet is now a city. So, like, 2,000 years ago, yeah, of course, all humans must have had the gene, or however many thousands of years. So I imagine it was like nope, you're not supposed to be here, so you're going to die.
I wanted to expand on your mention of them being simple, because one of the things that's happened is the construction machines won't stop. And they've been building and building, and we don't know how long this has been going on. We know that the village we find is 300 years old, but even that was, from people scavenging through the city. So,
but they also have access to the sky, which shows you just how high up they are. Yeah.
600 levels down is where Killy came from, and Chibo's body was resting, calling out for help for 17,500,000 and something hours, which calculates to almost 2,000 years. So that means from the time that she went unconscious, it's been 2,000 years.
Right, and she was still trying to fix the problem.
Unspecified time before that.
What do you mean they have access to the sky?
There's plenty of shots of what seems to be illumination from the sky.
That's not the sky.
Oh. Is that just lights from more buildings farther up?
Yeah, there's from what so when I first watched this, I did a little extra research because I was, like I said, a little confused because I fell asleep. My understanding is that the surface is very far, like the planet Jupiter you're traveling across kind of thing. Like it's huge.
Wow.
They're like you'll be walking and like there's the moon attached to the city because they just built around it and kept going, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't think there's any sky.
Where are they getting the resource? Okay, I understand the autofabs indicate that they can produce resources from molecular construction, but still you've got to have something, some kind of matter you're converting.
Also, where's all the energy coming from?
Star Trek rules.
Star Trek rules, yeah, I guess. Direct energy to matter conversion.
It's just one of the problems of this series, though.
Gravity beam.
There's no explanation for anything.
I kind of like it, though. I really like how this leaves... I don't know. It's because I love settings. The setting is so fascinating. Like, it's so deep. There's so much to unpack here that I want more story to give me more details.
Okay, so now we've established that. So we start the story with a group of scavengers. They're young teenagers, and they're not supposed to be out scavenging, but they're trying to find one last food source that's like way farther away than they're ever supposed to go, because the village is starving. And we learn about concepts like the watchtowers, which are basically just scanning for humans to kill them at all times.
Yeah, they don't seem to pick up the bugs. They don't notice bugs. Because there's bugs wandering around.
I assume those bugs were robotic.
Yeah, I thought they were like nano machines.
Because wouldn't they eat them? If you're so starving, you're going to a sludge pipe, and you're upset there's no sludge. I would assume that if the bugs were organic, you would be like, "That's food."
You're probably right. That does make sense. And I actually did wonder if they were going to get the bugs when they saw them. I was like, "Oh, that must be the food."
Yeah. So we see they have weapons that are, what do they call them? Rail guns.
Oh, they have a term. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, they had a term. They shoot metal rods because they don't actually have guns.
Mm-hmm.
You have to carry rods with you wherever you go.
Not the best ammunition, not the most compact.
They do seem to have strength enhancing suits and helmets that are supposed to help hide your identity from scanners. That seemed to be what the helmets were for, even though it didn't seem super effective.
Yeah, because they were still concerned about the watchtowers, even with their helmets on in the first few minutes of this scene. Right.
Well, like they say, the helmets are so old, no one knows how they're made anymore. We can't make more of those.
Yeah.
When they come back, that was one of the concerns. It's like, did you at least bring the gear back?
Yeah.
So while they're scavenging, they do end up getting spotted. They end up getting attacked. And we're kind of introduced to the leader of this group who's been pushing them, and that's Pseudo, who's
Zuru, right? Because it's like Zuru is what it was spelled out to be. Zuru.
So I watched this in an English dub, so I wrote down what I heard.
Zuru.
Okay, Zuru. She's leading this group and pushing them. She is trained, but the rest of them are kind of like trainees, and they stole the gear. What did we think of her?
I thought she was kind of bland and very predictable. It was tough to attach myself to her as like a half main character. I guess a little more time with her would have been good, but there were plenty of scenes where it was just it's like she was fading into the background, and it was just kind of odd. I don't know. I thought she was okay for the part that she played.
Yeah, a lot of the characters were kind of, they just didn't really stand out. And she's one of the few that needed to, and even she didn't really stand out either. There were some things that I really liked about her though, and that was in the interactions that she had. When she screwed up, she wasn't arrogant about it. She apologized, but she still made it clear that she wanted to keep helping. And when the situation arose that she could, she did. She was allowed to. And I thought there was a lot more dignity in the way that her character was portrayed, and a lot more believable respect. Like I looked at her character and I thought, I could actually see a person acting this way and being as capable as she is and still being included in the military of that group. And I don't see that as much anymore.
Was she the daughter of the leader of the tribe or the village?
At first I thought for sure that's what it was, but then everybody called him Pops, and so I think that it's just
no. So he has a son, Sutezo, and the only reason I'm pretty sure Pseudo is not his daughter is because I think Sutezo is got the hots for Pseudo, Zoro, whatever.
Zoro, just call her Zoro.
I didn't get that they were attracted to each other, or he was attracted to her. I mean, she was definitely not attracted to him.
She was more interested in Keely at first, but somebody had to make the granddaughter at the end. So.
I felt like he was a little jealous of Akari.
Yeah, I kind of got that too.
And that's where I got that there was a thing between him and her.
Okay.
And that she didn't reciprocate.
It'd be creepy if it was his sister even.
Right.
Well, there's plenty of anime. There's plenty of anime with son and daughter. Anyways.
So I wanted to give my thoughts on her, and there's two main characters really in this movie, her and Keely. I think they're both good side characters. I don't think they're good main characters. And what I mean by that is what's missing from this anime for me is a point of view character. There's not a character who's like, what's with all these robots? That I can feel like, I get that. I feel you. Jason, in pre-show, you mentioned The Matrix as a big thing of this. One of the things I think The Matrix does well is I understand Neo's confusion because I'm also confused when his mouth grows shut. I get that because I don't know what's going on. All these other characters are like, yeah, no, we totally understand why these robots are teleporting in front of us. And I'm like, oh, could someone explain it to me, please? And they don't. And that's their choice. But there wasn't a main character for me that I felt attached to. And so while this character I liked, she was fine. I was rooting for her, didn't want her to die, and also I didn't really care.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But I did want to throw out this idea that I had while I was watching, and Kitty kind of seems like a silent protagonist from a video game to me. Like the way Cloud never says anything in the game, and so many other Final Fantasy characters never say anything in the game. They're just quietly going about fulfilling their quests and their duties. And that's what Keely reminded me of so much.
You reminded me of a cowboy.
Really?
He just rides in the town. Again, a silent protagonist, not here to talk. He just gruff. He just gets the job done.
I didn't actually notice that there was no point of view character because I was so engrossed in trying to understand what was going on.
Well, you don't need one because all you need that mystery box, and you're like, I got you.
This is a giant puzzle box. Yes,
and I always applaud stories that don't hold your hand and are not exposition dumps every episode, right?
Yeah.
I think this went a little too far with the pendulum the other way, where they were just like, this is a story in the middle of a very grand story that you have no idea what's going on. So enjoy. There's zero expedition dump, which is fine, I guess. And it gives a lot of respect to the audience, but maybe to kind of leave them out in the dry might not have been the best choice here.
It's something maybe we're supposed to watch it like 6 times.
or read. A lot of our confusion of a lot of our anime would be solved by reading.
Come on. This is not a reading podcast.
You are asking a lot here. And you're assuming a lot.
Okay. They're attacked by what are known as exterminators, which are basically sent by the computer to wipe out humans when they find. She saves her friend, but she ends up falling down and getting chased away, and she's saved by a mysterious man who we've already referenced multiple times with a giant laser blast. He has this it hardly even looks like a gun. It looks like he's holding a black Lego block.
Like a rectangle of some kind. Right. Exactly.
And he shoots this blast, and it goes through walls and buildings for miles. This is our other main character, Killy. Really the main character of Blam. So what did you guys think of him?
I didn't know he was the main character until you guys told me. The moment I saw him, I was like, oh, he's a robot. And then, later on, we find out, oh, yeah, he is a robot. He's not really human.
I don't think they ever hit it. 5 seconds, he's like, I'm a human. And then they show behind his eyes, and he's got, computers processing faces and stuff. I'm like, okay, you're not?
Right. So there's no, again, there's no exposition or any explanation of that. I will say, though, that the exterminators were extremely well done. Their design, their animation, the threat level, and like Jeremy said earlier, the atmosphere is just fantastic. I will give this anime that I really, really liked how creepy these things moved.
Yeah, they kill 3 of these kids, and they reach you, your head's just gone. They just take your head off.
Yeah, no hesitation. And also that mask that just doesn't move as they move. It's like, But
it reminded me of the dog robots we have now from Boston Dynamics and from other places where the head holds still but the body's moving. They do dances and stuff like that. So creepy. But go on.
So Kitty, I didn't attach to him. I didn't care. I guess is the best way to put it.
I loved how much I didn't know about him. I actually really liked that. Yes, I know, Jason, you're face palming right now. because what I loved so much about that is that I didn't know if he's a bad guy or if he's a good guy. And I really thought that was their intention in the way they presented him to me, is that, he says I'm a human, and he says I'm just looking for people with the net code or the net gene. And yet when he took that shot, he could have killed her. He could have killed her by accident with that shot. It was a straight line shot that took out multiple of these safeguard exterminators in one line. And she was in that line. She only jumped down and managed to save herself. So the whole time I'm questioning, is he human? Okay. Immediately we see that he's getting these, computer recognition, AI recognition software is running, basically telling him what everything is. So I'm like, okay, so he's not human. Plus it looks like it's having trouble. It's going on the fritz. And I mean, the whole time I'm like, are you lying to them? Would you kill them if they got in the way of your objective? He turns to just keep on walking away from her immediately after. And then she manages to get him to go back to the village by telling him, oh no, wait, maybe somebody else has what you're looking for. Maybe somebody else has some information to help you. And just this sense of, I don't know this character. Every movement is plodding and slow, he doesn't care, or he's a force of nature that just can't be stopped and he knows it. It's such a fascinating character to watch. It screams power and confidence, and I don't know why. And the whole time I'm trying to figure out why and what his real end goal is. And they kept that going throughout the whole thing. And so for that, I really liked this character. But as a character, he was boring.
I don't think he's a good main character, but I actually did really like the character for a lot of the reasons Jeremy just said. I like that he's not. I like that he's not there to save them. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking for this thing. We don't know where it is. Well, then I don't care about you. I'm out." Mm-hmm. One of my favorite scenes is when the scientist head is like, please put me on the console. And he's like, throws it on the console.
Yes.
Like,
don't care.
I'm not here to be gentle with you. I'm here to accomplish my task. He's very Terminator-ish. But I also do feel like if you have the Terminator be a main character, you have to give him a sidekick that brings some personality along.
How great would it have been if it was an Austrian accent for this guy?
Oh, that would be so good.
I mean, I have a lot of
Gene.
That's right. We need it now.
I have a lot of questions if he is a robot or not, because he seems to be able to get away with going through the robot-free barrier.
It sure seemed like he was, because the advanced exterminator said that he was a stolen exterminator.
That's true.
Stolen exterminator body.
And the exterminator was able to go through the shield too.
Well, although the exterminator, okay, you guys keep calling them exterminators. Did they ever use the term safeguard?
Yes, they were safeguards.
Okay,
safeguard, from my understanding, was like the program hunting humans, and then the creepy robot face crawlers were exterminators sent by Safeguard.
I heard it interchangeably, and I don't know, but for me, I really liked the term because it's so like cybersecurity firewall. Like if the firewall was a real object out there hunting you, ooh, that's really cool. But I don't know, because she changed into another character and came in as a human, and surely she couldn't change to be a human to infiltrate. So
she was
somehow she did get through that barrier.
Right. So it would make sense that if she can do it and Killy can do it, it doesn't rule out Killy not being a robot. You're right about that. Okay, so I think we're all set on Killy.
Awesome character. Best character ever.
How do we feel? I do actually have a question. This isn't a character, but thoughts on his gun. Is it a cool gun? I can't decide because it's so plain and it's so nothing, and then it has this huge blast.
Here's a better question. Does that gun require power from him?
Absolutely.
That was not a better question, but
no, we know the answer.
I thought it was cool that he had something that could draw on his own power to deliver just extreme. I think the coolest part about the gun was actually the special effects that the CGI did from the explosion and the smoke effects. I have not seen CG smoke effects that good in an anime yet until this movie. So
yeah, it's really cool. They did such a good job with all the effects, I thought, except for human animation. There were some problems there, especially with like the way that Tanya asked me, because she came in at about the 45-minute mark and started watching, and she's like, why is it clippy? Like, why are the people moving in clipped frames like that? That's the style. You got to get used to it.
Yeah.
But as far as the gun goes, there's like just the way it has that rectangular shape and everything. At first I was like, okay, cool. So crazy super future weapon and everything. And then later when you see that the other Safeguard Elite has one, and she asks for authorization and it turns into a bigger version of his gun, and it looks the same, but it's giant. I'm like, that's why it looks this way, because it's a robo gun. It makes sense. Then I liked it.
Okay, I can't decide.
I like the recoil. It does kind of give credence to the idea that it is a gravity gun, which they keep calling it.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, like we said, they convince him to go to their village. They go back. They get in trouble-ish. They're really let off the hook pretty easy, but everyone's still like, hey, where's the other people that went with you? AKA, where's the other suits we can't replace?
Yes.
We lost those. They do freak out. The village freaks out a little bit about Killy coming, especially the character Sutezo, because they're met at the gate by the characters Pops and Sutezo, who we need to talk about. Pops is the village leader. Sutezo is his son. What did we think of them? Pops is really he's really the one to talk about. Sutezo kind of just has an action scene. He's almost the more of the dissenting voice, like, oh, this is a suicide mission. We shouldn't do this. And Pops is like, yeah, we're dying no matter what, so let's just do the suicide mission.
Mm-hmm. I thought Pops was really interesting as the leader that was actually reasonable. Everything that he did, I could understand where he was coming from and why he would make the decisions that he made. He bent when it was necessary for him to bend, but he was strict and unbending when he shouldn't have. And I couldn't actually see any other direction to go than the direction he did. And I kind of like that, because so many times in movies, situations are contrived by characters doing something that just doesn't make sense when they're in authority. And he didn't do that. So I liked him for that.
Yeah, I thought some of the things, like, I'm thinking, like, if I'm in this culture of people that, like, are afraid of everyone around, like anything around me that moves, because it could be a robot trying to murder me. For him to so easily accept Kitty was a little odd. But it leads credence to that, we're running out of food. This might be an option. Let's see who this person is and what they can bring. Because in my mind, I'm thinking of a more paranoid stance of nobody comes in the town because we have no idea who you are.
Yep.
But yeah, I think he was the most relatable character in the entire anime.
I can agree with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, it was so refreshing to not have this is how we always do the things, so we won't do the young people's things that they want to do that'll save the village. That trope not being used was really nice. I do kind of agree with Jason on everyone's reactions to Killy, because it's super obvious to everyone something's weird about this dude. Also, another character who shows up later, something's super weird about this lady. We're afraid of machines. She clearly has 2 robot arms.
Well, she doesn't even have normal feet.
Right. She's giant. And everyone's just kind of cool with it. It's almost like they don't know enough to be afraid of everything that isn't exactly what they've always been afraid of. This isn't a murder bot right now, so clearly it's got to be okay because we don't know any better.
I think it says a lot in the beginning part when they're first bringing Kitty in, and Zuru says, "Yeah, we don't know why, but the robots can't get in. The safeguard can't get in. We're protected. This area is safe." I think that since these people have been here for 300 years, and they're so used to that being a fact for generation after generation after generation after generation, that they just simply would have so much trust in that barrier, not even realizing that it's a barrier, just trust that magical line right there can't be crossed by robots. And I that's how I excused it, was, if he passes the test, then he passes the test. It's magic. He just simply can't.
I agree. It was just odd that it never comes back up. Okay, you're clear. They see his arm fall. He obviously saved them, right? He's clearly on our side, but no one's like, dude, how does your arm just fall off and then get taped back on?
Well, that's a little past catastrophe time.
True, but I'm using it as the most blatant example. There's still little stuff all throughout this of you're not quite normal, but everyone's like, you know what? Screw it. We're starving. We gotta go.
Well, I did. At the beginning, I loved how he won their trust. I thought that was pretty great.
Right, which is what, which looks to me like a Lego brick.
Yes.
Which is, if you put this brick in water, it turns into a giant thing of food.
Which apparently is tasty compared to Clutch.
Looks like cornbread to me.
Yeah. Which, oh god, this says so much about the whole situation they're in. I love the fact that the first thing the kids do when he hands them this golden brick is try to bite it. Right. The very first thing they do. But then they're smart enough to throw it in the water. Even the pacing of the scene as he's reaching behind himself slowly. And I'm like, that's where his gun is, right? Mm-hmm. What's he doing? And he's reaching so slow and the scene's just taking forever. And then he slowly pulls out this yellow brick. I'm like, oh
god. One thing about the pacing that I agree with you, Jeremy, is that it does a good job of never letting you fully trust any of these mysterious characters. Killy, Zero, you just I'm pretty sure you're a good guy, but why are you reaching for? Okay, you were reaching for food. My bad. I was. They do that a lot, and I mean, up till the final moments, you really don't know if you can trust a lot of characters. After he gets the food, they talk. He talk. I'm looking for the terminal net gene. I'm looking for humans who can control the robots, basically, and they don't exist anymore, basically. But Pops is like, hey, I've heard of something like that. Down right below us, there's a area where things
it's a
are weird.
ghost.
And then his son's like, that's where the ghost lives. It's a voice that can make you do stuff, which is weird. They then decide to go and investigate the ghost, and they don't find the net terminal gene. They find the remains of a robot woman scientist. Human?
Cyborg? Yeah.
It wasn't a ghost. It was Mr. Hodgins all along.
This is Zero, who's very familiar with Killy very fast. She's like, hey, Killy, we'll be best friends. And he's like, no. He like, when he finds it's a head and like a spine and shoulders that he finds, and he like picks it up after okay, this is another thing. He lifts like a giant concrete slab. This is the first thing where they're like, you're clearly not human.
Yep.
That's what I was talking about. Anyway, slams her against the wall, wakes her up, turns her on.
Her on button was back there and it had kind of rusted. So
I don't understand. Like when he first met Zorro and the other scavengers, he's like, show me your eyes. I need to see you're human. And he's looking for, it's part of the looking for the net terminal gene. He sees this and he's like, okay, I trust this. Even though it's clearly robotic, lights up when it talks.
Well, he did look into its eyes and he's like, I can tell that you were infected by the contagion. You have residue from the contagion. So that means that to be infected, you'd have to be human. So
that's true. Okay. I can accept that. And she basically says, like, I was a scientist. I was trying to stop the robots. We decided to make a remote control version of the net terminal gene so we could, stop the robots. And I'm the one who made the barrier that robots can't cross to get into the village. It's why this village established here, because after she died, the shield stayed up.
And then she does the stupidest thing ever. Go lift that brick over there so we can expose the generator to everyone.
Yeah. And then she tells them, hey, let's go to a factory where I can build anything. And I can build you a remote control to control robots. And I can build you a ton of food.
The moment she says this and her whole story before then, it's about that trust issue. Like, I'm going, she's clearly trying to get you to this factory so she can murder you all. Like, that was my first thought the entire time. Like, why are you? And Kitty's like, okay, let's go. Like, straps her to his back. It's like, okay, let's go to the factory.
This was so cool watching like him walk forward, and I'm wondering, okay, so is he just gonna carry her in his hand? And no, he's like used wire and strapped her to his back. It's so creepy looking. This is when Tanya came in. No, this isn't. It's a little bit later, and that's one of the first things she saw. And she's like, because I explained to her everything up till then. She's like, that's the character. Oh, she looks so gross.
So, I mean, we'll find out that Sibo, like, she was a human scientist woman. She was, again, trying to fight the spread of the machines, and ended up dying. What did you guys think of her as a character, though?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't know. She was so hard to read because there's moments, there's a moment later where she saves everybody, but she's like, that only lasts for 30 seconds. But like the look on her face, the way she says it, and her stance is like, I am a bad guy, and I'm gonna kill you here soon, or there's stuff that's gonna murder you soon. It's like she is clearly villainous, like halfway through this movie, or at least that's the way she's portrayed. This character was one big, huge missed opportunity in my mind, because she is from the past. There's so much potential there as far as storytelling and what you could do with her and what she could become now, and like what her motivations are, what are her and what have her motivations evolved into now that she's been sitting here for 2,000 years. Like, there's so much here, and it just ends up being very straightforward. Oh, I'm just gonna keep trying to stop the robots.
But Jason, what if she was just an arm?
She is at one point.
My brain's in my arm.
I love that. I predicted that.
I like this character. I think her and Kelly share something that is a little off-putting, and that's that they have almost no care for personal threat to others. Kelly is more understandable. Like, I'm trying to save the human race. I can't save this village. This village isn't my problem. I'll work with this village to get past them or to keep going. And we see Kelly is actually a little bit beyond that. There is a little bit of concern. Sibo is almost like that too. Like you said, she's like, let's go to this factory. It's clearly a death trap, whether intentional or not. But to her, who cares about the village? We're saving the world.
Well, and so to be fair to all the things that I said and that point, she did not want she didn't ask anyone else to go. She said,
yes,
Kitty,
that's right.
Take me there. And Kitty turns around and just starts marching. And Pops is like, we should go with you. And he's like, I don't need you.
Yeah.
But they wanted to go along anyway. So it's like their danger at the factory is kind of their own fault.
Right.
Yes.
That's 100% true. No one ever asked them to go. But she does volunteer the information. I can make you food.
Right.
That is very true too. Yeah. And Keely certainly isn't going to carry it back. He doesn't care. He'll just take one.
He literally could, like, imagine how big a backpack he could have brought back for them.
Yeah.
Like, nope. I'm doing my thing.
But you do make a really good point that there's bigger fish to fry. There is an entire world to save. If he can get the city under control, then everyone's problems are gone. At any point in this conflict, if they can get the city under control, all of the safeguards, all of the exterminators just stop. And so really the best way that you can save lives is not by going out there and trying to stop the exterminators or the safeguards, but by trying to hack in and break through the authority and take control of the city. So I can completely understand where both of these characters are coming from, because both of them are trying to do it in their own way, but it kind of just happens to coincide right now because they have a solution that they can both contribute to and make work, they hope. And so all of it made sense to me. I really liked this character, Jibo. She's probably my favorite character because she, like you say, Jason, there's so much history there that she actually fills in a little bit for us. And so we get a little bit of understanding about the whole situation of what's going on with the city through her. And the whole time that she's talking, she's kind of handling the situation she's in so casually, even though it's so traumatic. I mean, what happens if you're isolated for 2,000 years? Well, what happens to criminals when they're isolated for a few days? There's a reason solitary confinement has been considered illegal in many cases. Well, because it messes with the brain.
Right.
My question is, when did she transfer her consciousness to a robot?
I imagine that's probably what all the humans were during the time the city was at its peak. That's my guess.
So any humans from back then?
That was their best chance to survive?
No, I think that was just their society. I think it was very much a transcendent society where everybody had just kind of accepted AI, accepted technology. There was a book I read a while ago. I can't remember the name of it, but the main character's Phaethon, if anybody will recognize that name. And it kind of deals with the idea of when technology gets so advanced that you can no longer distinguish between a god and a human, because the human has the power to change the world and the physical manifestation of things with just thoughts. And that's what their control over the city kind of seemed like. So I wouldn't put cyborg bodies past them at that time, at their peak. But I really liked her as a character. I absolutely loved the design once she shows up with a full body. It was really cool looking and really creepy looking. But another thing I wanted to mention was the design for Keely's eyes specifically. If you ever look into like any manga drawing tutorial books, also, well, I think some like I think some like Marvel and DC superhero comic books, not comic books, but drawing tutorial books do as well. Right. They show you that, when you draw the eyes very, very narrow and closed like that, you're drawing a villain. And so they deliberately designed Keeley with eyes that they look like villains' eyes according to standard drawings of characters. And it changed how you would perceive him. If his eyes were very wide, like most heroes are drawn, he wouldn't have as much of a sinister aura. And
he's all black with characters who are dressed in all white.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's definitely intentional, and it's really cool.
So the village gets all their electro fishers ready, and that's what they call their scouts, right?
Yes, that's the people.
The electro fishers. So this is going to be a long journey, probably one of the longer ones they've ever been on. We see there's scenes about them talking, about them traveling. We get Sibo's backstory from her point of view. She tells Kelly like, I was a scientist, all the stuff we've been talking about. And then they make it to the factory. This is the scene where she's like, put me on the console. He just throws her down and walks away. Yeah. The first thing she makes is a giant pile of food, and it's like almost a house big as his apartment probably, and the bricks start falling, and so they're scooping them up. They can't even make a dent in this thing really with how much there is. And then she makes the remote control, but then she starts warning Killy like, okay, this is going to get bad. You should probably get ready. Which is what one aspect of these characters, like no one ever turns to the electrofisher and say, hey, things are about to get bad. She's like, Killy, things are going to get bad. Killy's like, I don't care.
He's like, are you done yet?
Well, he has no intention to even pick her back up again either.
That's true.
Actually, he just leaves her there.
Yes.
So a lot of stuff goes down at the same time. So more of these exterminators get created because the safeguard realizes, okay, something's going wrong in this factory. Let's send in a bunch of robots. And this is a really intense scene because we've seen like 2 or 3 of these things be deadly, and now there's just dozens.
Huge swarm.
And they're like, bring them in. And I'm like, don't bring them in. You have 2 shots. You get 2 shots a gun. The electrofishers start fleeing while Killy goes and gets his remote control, which is like a big, giant
duffel, like a really big.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a
duffel.
Giant duffel bag, like really giant duffel bag. He has
like
to put
8 feet long. Yeah.
Which is no problem. He's just one hand.
Oh yeah.
Right, and then he wipes out like 4 or 5 of the exterminators. He takes one on hand to hand with a knife too. So when his gun, because you definitely get the sense he can't just fire his gun over and over, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he fires his gun and he kills one with his knife. Meanwhile, these poor human people getting slaughtered. Don't worry about them.
Now that I think about it, basically their guns are 2-shot muskets.
Yes.
Because once they fire, they gotta reload and like putting these huge, what they call spikes, into this thing. It's like you're loading your musket. It's got 2 shots.
Yep.
During all the ruckus, the character Ty, who is Ciro's friend,
one of the kids from the beginning that survived.
Right. She's like her best friend. I recognize her English dub voice too. She gets left behind, and someone's like, "Oh, I saw her get crushed to death." So the girl runs off to find her best friend, and she finds her with a broken arm. And they're saved, and they bring her back, and that ends up being important because she starts acting really weird after that, very distant.
And it's. I thought it was because she was mad that the guy left her behind.
Oh,
because she seemed to only be distant towards him, but we never saw her interact with anyone else because it was always like
who kind of has a crush on her, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. He left her behind, and it took Pseudo to go find her, and it seemed like, oh, you're being distant because you're pissed at him because he left you behind.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Tanya was telling me she's infected. They infected her with something. She's infected. And I'm like, I don't think it works.
I didn't pick up on it at all.
Really? Oh, I was like, something's wrong with her. Something's wrong. I don't know what, but something.
I watched it too long ago to remember what I thought. I don't remember. Obviously, I saw it coming the second time. I was trying to remember, like, what is this again? This is something. The Killy gets his thing, and he regroups with them, and they get pinned down again. But then Sibo shows up, and she's like, "Hey guys, I got a new super robot body. Sup? Super tall, super big. I got robot arms." And she has a laser that makes basically a barrier like they have around the village. She's like, "Hey, that'll last for a whole 60 seconds. You should run." And then she gets them on a train, and they get on the train. The train starts going, but then the robots are coming, and everyone's like, "Killy, do something." He's like, "Well, okay." And he
I loved how she finally got him to move, because he wasn't going to move, and the way she got him to move was, well, we got the device, we got the synthetic device, we can plug in. Be a pity if we didn't get any farther, Killy. And that's when he finally did what you're going to describe.
He's almost apathetic to danger.
Yes, he really is.
And maybe now, knowing what we know about like the history of this manga, maybe it's just because he's been doing this for so long,
seen so many die, he doesn't want to make connections anymore.
Or even dying himself was like, that's not so bad, right? If I'm just done, right?
That's a good point.
And also, like, these things are so easy. They're like level 1, like minions to like a level 99.
That's true. Character. He can beat one with a knife.
Yeah, he's but it's not even at me
yet. He injects himself in the neck with something, and then turns around and fires his gun at the back of the train, wiping out all the robots. And then he passes out. The story picks up where they're back at the village, which had to be a couple days, or maybe not if they took the train. We don't know,
because they went through the snow and they called it Snowpiercer. Oh, wrong movie.
It was a long vacation for us.
Yes.
They return to the village. He's still passed out, which is really fun. They're like, they're worried about him, and she was like, "Nope, he's fine. Wake up." She activates him though, doesn't she?
Yeah, she gets really close.
There's like a little digital interface going on there.
Pseudo looks a little jealous when she does it.
Yeah, that was so funny to me, because I'm like, can't you tell Zuru? He's not human. You don't have a chance with this guy. But she's there pining after him. Are you gonna come back? Am I gonna see you again? Oh, please like me.
Yeah, like probably said 5 words to her in the entire movie.
I know. I loved it. It was so funny.
I really felt for the villagers who were like, "Oh my god, you brought back so much food. We could just go there again and get that food." They're like, "No, we cannot go back there again. No. We die after this runs out. We just extended our."
Yep.
Poor guys. So they start grieving their dead. Killy's woken up, and Sibo's like, "Hey, take me to the access portal where I'll plug in the remote. I gotta jack in, and then you gotta protect me." And he's like, "Fine." And I'm saying that in a humorous method. He doesn't say anything. He just starts walking with her. Like, it's even less than what I am trying to convey through audio means, so that the story is presented right.
He basically just glares at everything all the time.
He never answers requests. He just either starts doing the thing or doesn't start doing the thing.
Yep.
So they start going down the stairs back to where he found Sibo, which is where the access portal is. Meanwhile, the villagers are doing their thing. Pops is drunk. Lots of stuff is happening. And we see someone grabbing a gun, and it ends up being Tai, and she goes to the edge of the village, and she shoots down at that.
They had so much time to stop her. She's standing on the roof. Like, they see that she's dragging a gun to the edge, and then she's standing there over the edge, and they're all just standing there like, "What's Tai doing? What's she doing over there? We're all having our celebration. We don't understand."
Imagine it's your wife, though, someone like really well. You wouldn't immediately be like
yelling. I'd be like, "What are you doing? What are you doing with that gun over there?"
Even that wouldn't have stopped anything.
But like yelling as you run, like, "What are you doing? You should stop."
How did she know the generator was where it was
at? That is a very good question. It's okay. I think I have a theory for that because Troy's going to describe what happened, I'm sure. Or maybe I'll just throw it out there. Mm-hmm. Apparently, this other creature this other robot that is one of the safeguards, but it's an elite level safeguard that kind of looks like very similar to the body that Chibo prints up for herself, another female. And this female basically had grabbed her in the tunnel and had killed her in the tunnel, but not before scanning her eyes. And then she masqueraded as her. Somehow she used that ionization thing that's done when the watchtowers zap down and create the other safeguards that chase forward like crazy monsters. She uses that same thing to recreate the shape of her body into Ty's body so she can masquerade as Ty, come in, cause problems. I'm wondering if when she scanned her eye, she took all of her memories and data and everything through that scanning process. Because, the eyeball does connect right to the brain. So super future tech, maybe.
That, or maybe just the computer system knows where the center of the shield is, and it's like, it's got to be there in this area. Look down here.
Maybe once they got in, it could tell that. That would make sense.
Or even from the outside, maybe just like if you think about it from a computer point of view, maybe they're just like, well, it's weird that we can access every point in this system except for right around this circle.
Yeah, see, that's why I mean, like the AI. Yeah, exactly. Like the AI is so simple when it comes to how to operate the safeguard. I mean, at least what we've seen. I'm sure there's probably some really high level AI somewhere else.
Well, if Killy is AI and this new villain is AI, then there's clearly some complicated AI. And whatever Sibo talks to at the end clearly has thought processes.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though, is like if there was, the sheer ability of an AI to compute given enough resources to be able to do so just would put to shame anything any of these characters would be doing, any of them. Like even Killy's behavior, the behavior of this other safeguard, none of it is, I mean, they're like cavemen compared to modern man in discussing the, but see, I can't do it. I guess I'm a caveman. But I mean, like just the sheer, they basically are like, here, this target has been selected to be terminated. Go kill that target. Don't worry about anything else. And that seems to be the extent of their ability to process things. And then they can essentially send back feedback and say, oh, I need a bigger gun to kill this target. Okay, you're authorized. Here's a bigger gun. Now kill that target. It's like, that's the extent of everything that we're given as an example in the real world. And then in the artificial world, we are given an example of another one that can think a little bit better, but it seems to be restrained by rules so that it can't act on something that even it can recognize as possibly having some moral value to it. So I don't know. It just seems really weird. Even then, like, I don't know. There's so much to unpack.
Let's talk about this villain, though, whose name is Sanakon.
She has a name? I didn't catch that.
She says, I am Sanakon. I thought she said, I am semicolon. And I was like, I am not writing that. That can't be right. I even wrote it wrong in our notes. I wrote all these names wrong. No one pronounced their names right. It is, but I have Wikipedia open. It is
Sanakon.
And she did say a name. Like I said, I wrote it wrong. Thoughts on our villain?
I can't really call it a villain. I mean, it's there to fulfill a process that humans wrote.
Mm-hmm. Takes no pleasure in it. It's just doing its job.
It seemed to enjoy it a little bit, especially in the fight with Killy. It seemed to enjoy beating Killy.
That may have been, but it was, I mean, Killy, she establishes as one of her own. So maybe that was just competition with somehow. I don't know. It's weird. They don't seem to think like I would normally ascribe to a villain. There doesn't seem to be the same thought process. So it's hard to identify it.
To me, this is the Mr. Smith of the story. Going back to the Matrix.
Yeah, I can see the parallel.
But with what I'm seeing is inklings of very similar to the Mr. Smith storyline in the Matrix of expanding and evolving themselves due to encountering Killy, who, and I say that because she shoots down, she blows up the generator. Now everything's going to hell in the village, right? The robots can come in. Killy stops, turns around, and runs back. Now that is not the right move for a robot trying to complete a mission.
Are you sure? I thought so at first too, but then I thought about it, and the conclusion I came to was, what's she going to target next? Your robot mind would tell you the next thing she's going to do is shoot through the building and take out the terminal as soon as she finishes the people. So you got to get up there and deal with the problem before it gets closer to the target you don't want it to take out.
Because Shibo specifically asked, protect me while I'm plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
And if he accepted that mission, that would have been the first thing he would do, is go after the safeguard.
But I did yell, like when he did it, I turned to Tanya, I said, oh my God, he has humanity? Like, he's actually showing empathy and sympathy and running up there to protect them. And then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, no, he's not.
Yeah, no.
He's not. It looks like it, but that's not.
Huh. Yeah, I interpreted it as it is, but I can't really argue with their logic. That makes sense, because the first thing he does is take out the watchtower, which
instead of her,
which halts the exterminators that are being brought in.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny because she was at that time killing people, and he had his targets set on her. We actually get to see from his eyes, he's got his gun locked on her. He could have taken the shot, and she didn't know to put her hand up and block yet. So he probably could have killed her there before she continued killing anybody else. But instead he changes his mind and says, oh, the watchtower is a bigger incoming threat because it's materializing more and more of these other guys, even though they're not currently killing them. That's got to go first. A very strategic approach to it.
You might have just ruined the entire movie for me.
Was that the saving grace of the movie, that like Keely acts like a human at the end?
It's the saving grace that he's a character and not just a machine.
Yeah, no, he's just
a machine. I honestly don't think he's human, or if he is human, like they say the body's stolen. She says the body's stolen during the fight. I wonder if somehow a human like inhabited him and left some fragments of memories in him.
Yeah,
or something.
That's kind of what I felt like, and that's why I thought like, oh look, there's the little sparks of humanity left in him are flaring up. Mm-hmm. This whole time he's been like, no, I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm gonna take care of the mission, and then he went back for the people, but
maybe not.
That. Yeah. Can we talk about one of the coolest scenes in this entire movie, though? Is when Semicolon is transforming and Pops reaches in to the cloud and his arm's just gone.
That was brilliant.
That was blood, no nothing. Just
Yeah, I love that scene. As gruesome as it was cool.
Yep.
Okay, so fighting happens. There's a lot of fighting at this point. I do like their idea, which is Pops basically tells Tezo, get to the top of the village and just start shooting down. Like, we need to get the high ground. As any good Jedi knows, you need to have it.
I have the high ground and I can come up.
Okay.
You've made my night.
Star Wars references shouldn't derail the show, you guys. Killy enters the fight, starts fighting with Sanakan.
Semicolon is awesome. Use that.
I did like the idea that the robots have emoji names.
That is great.
I'm poop. Wait, what?
What?
Yeah. Equals 3 here.
There you go.
You mentioned that she had a very similar gun to him, but hers, like at first, is like a pinpoint laser, like just striking through people. And then she hits him. He loses his arm and his gun, and they fall down. And then she just starts kicking his butt. She grows a bigger gun to wipe him out. But at the same time, Sibo connects to basically the internet.
Yeah.
And that stops Sonicon, she then turns and is getting ready to fire. The guy, Sutezo, shows up and distracts her for a little bit.
Shoots her in the head. That's a great distraction.
Killy gets his gun from Zuro, shoots her. She blocks it. One hand. Nope, I don't care. And then she turns and shoots Sibo, killing her. And then Kiri injects 3 of those vials into his neck, and
whatever they are,
Kaioken times 10 Kamehameha.
Yep. Block this.
And then we get one last scene with Sibo where she is in the internet, and the internet's like, and it's control, right? Because there's control, there's safeguard. So control must be behind safeguard, running safeguard. And control is like, yeah, you're dead out there, but you have a few seconds in here because time's different in the internet. And boy, is it. A Twitter battle lasts forever. And she's like, hey, can I turn off the robots attacking the village? And the internet's like, no. But I can give you a map.
I love that.
And you can't leave, but you can look at it.
Yeah, I technically can't give you the map, but I can't stop you from looking at it.
That's like, I know you can't have this chocolate, but I'm going to leave it right here. And if it disappears while I'm walking out the door, oh well.
Which is kind of odd. It makes me wonder if control isn't like evil and it's just like, whoops, we have these really weird rules we have to follow, including kill all humans, but
you humans programmed us with some really strange imperatives here.
Not
we
my
don't
bad.
think they're a good idea, but we can't stop now.
So the village is recovering. They put his arm back on, Kelly's arms back on with tape.
Literally.
And it literally just starts functioning immediately again.
Yeah.
The guy kind of looks at him weird, like,
maybe you aren't human.
Do you want me to tape this? Yes.
Please.
And then an arm shows up, which is Sibo, where she put her brain in her robot arm, and the robot arm now has legs that it walks on, and the palm is like the face. Hi.
That one really looked like the dog in Boston Dynamics. It looks exactly like it.
And she's like, hey guys, I saw a map, and if we go one level down, there's literally no robots there. And everyone's like, oh, that's going to be tough. And Pop's like, no, that's not going to be that tough. We're going to do that. Why wouldn't we do that? I kind of thought it was weird that they're all like, we can't leave. Everything's on fire.
Yeah.
You can leave.
Down. There's no barrier anymore. You are dead. I
do wonder how big a level is, because obviously, like, as far down as that control unit was, that was on the same level as them.
Technically, it wasn't a level they were going to. They were going in between the levels.
Oh, okay.
Really? I got the impression that it was a level that had been abandoned by the robots, but it was still a level. But it could have been.
I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong, and someone should correct me if I am, but I'm pretty sure she said specifically it was in between. It was an area in between the levels that the robots didn't patrol.
Does it really make a difference?
Of course it does, man.
Okay. So our story starts coming to an end where Killy and Sibo decide to lead them to their new home. And when they get to the elevator, they're attacked. And so Killy's like, sup, I'm just going to stay and fight the big giant monster behind us. Here's my super important scarf that blocks me from being spotted. And I was like, that doesn't seem like a good idea. If they're going to a place with no robots, they don't need that. You do. But and then so they go down the elevator and there's a huge explosion as Killy starts fighting. And even Sibo leaves, which I thought was weird. I thought Sibo for sure would be like, okay, I got the elevator going. I'm sticking with the man. because that's
Yep.
how she's been acting the entire movie. So for her to suddenly be like, no, I really care about the villagers. I got to take care of them. Since when?
I thought maybe she had to show them the way, but it was at this point that I started to not like the direction the story went.
Yeah, maybe they didn't know the way.
No, yes. Do you know the way? I just learned about that meme. It's new to me.
That's all that matters.
That's right.
I'm glad I can make your night. And then we find out that this story is being told by the granddaughter of Zuru, who became the village leader and always told stories of Killy. It's been a long time since then. Everything still sucks. So they assume he's not doing very well. And then we get just a shot of, do we even see Killy walking through the city? Or do we just see the city?
We see the granddaughter, but we don't see...
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because the final shot is like, big metal city. Did we see Killy in it at all?
I didn't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It's just, I think we can assume he's alive and just still not.
It's a continuation, right?
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of our story. Jeremy, you really didn't like the end of the story.
No.
Because it turned out to be a flashback?
Well, number one, when I watched it the first time, and I had to go back and rewatch the beginning to understand what happened here. When I watched it the first time, I thought that the same girl that was talking about how horrible the world had become was telling her own story. I didn't realize that she was telling the story from her grandma, because it just immediately jumps from her saying, that was a long, what did she say? She says, I can't remember exactly what she said, but she says something, and then the screen cuts to these people that are in the suits and they're jumping around in there. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we're seeing what her life is like now and what it takes for her to survive. This is where they go out on an expedition to do something. And so I had connected that character to the suits that we're immediately following, which then revealed to be Zuru and the other characters, right? So it seemed linear to me. I didn't realize that they were telling a story in the past. And so when the conclusion happened and I'm watching it the first time, first thing that happens is she goes down in the elevator with him, and I'm thinking, okay, so maybe she's just going to show them the way. And then Killy is the queen. Killy stays behind. That didn't make any sense to me at all based on all of his previous behaviors and actions. I can understand him trying to defend Chibo, trying to protect Chibo because she's a valuable source of information and ability. I mean, all they have to do is go to another autofab, slap Keely's hand brain on there, and she should be able to print another one. And she even said outright, there are multiple autofabs. They're all over. This just happens to be the one that's closest to the village. And so I'm like, okay, do it again. Just go to another one and try again. You can probably succeed if you don't have villagers messing things up by being infiltrated. You could throw up another shield, take your time, do it right. Don't be rushed. But when he stayed behind like that, it looked like something really, really big was materializing, something scarier than anything they'd faced before.
Yeah, and it looked huge in the darkness.
It did. And I wonder if it's in response to the death of the other safeguard, the elite safeguard, like, oh, we need to bring in something big enough to kill whatever killed her. But at that point, why would Keely not just flee and be like, I have to survive in order to continue my mission? And so that didn't make sense to me. Just that whole situation. And then to have it terminate with, we're now down there, and it just kind of cuts to, that was a long time ago and we never saw him again. And I'm like, oh, you just completely anti-climaxed this story. Like, this is where I'm in Jason's boat in this one, where I'm like, this is not a story. This is an introduction. This is a presentation to a world that has clearly got so much more going on. This is not a finished story. And that upset me.
Would you say a lot of this comes from the fact that you thought this was the beginning and end of the whole story?
Yeah, I thought it was an encapsulated movie.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
That I can kind of see. I just kind of see a lot of what you described as the framework. And this was just to show Killy, like, look, I'm happy for you, village, but whatever. I'm staying here. Yeah. I'm going to shoot this thing and I'm going to go left
Yeah, because it seemed like Killy's quest was the one I cared about. The village, it was interesting, but they weren't as important as solving the problem of the city. And so to see Killy's quest basically get sidelined and thrown to the back as like, well, don't know what happened to poor Killy. Main quest out of the picture here. But look, these villagers, they're happy. That's not enough for me.
So were you expecting a resolution to the robot city?
Yeah, I was. I was thinking it would be something like the way Metropolis had a resolution at the end, and
that's completely fair. I guess I probably should have warned you guys that this was a introduction to a much bigger story. Knowing that
actually makes a huge difference. I'm inclined to like it more than I was before, knowing that there's such a big world to explore already.
Okay. Any other last thoughts before we head on to reviews?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know I rambled a lot.
No. It was good stuff. Yeah, let's go to our final reviews. I will start us off. I give this a 2. Of everything I've seen from Polygon Studios, this has been my least favorite. I probably would like it more if I knew more about Blam. I bet if I was a Blam reader, this would be really cool. But without any extra context other than some little research I did, everything's just kind of, it felt really bland.
Bland.
Yeah. Bland.
I'm in Troy's boat. I also am going to rate this a 2. I didn't hate my time with it, but I was just so bored. I couldn't attach to any of the characters. Didn't really see any character growth anywhere. And it's interesting that, you watch a movie like Matrix and the characters are engaging and you feel attached to, or at least you get invested in the characters some. And this, I just didn't feel invested in anybody. Maybe Pops. But yeah, the world was cool and the threat was the threat was really neat to see. And the robots were scary. Just everything else about it was just meh. So yeah, that's where I stand.
Yeah, so all those things that you just said were really good. That's all I care about. And so the world was awesome. The threats were awesome. There was so much detail in this atmosphere. It felt like a real place. I was convinced the characters behaved in a manner that was consistent with the futility of their scenario. The only possible character development that I might be able to even try to find might be Zuru, starting out as somebody who just obviously made a horrible mistake but was desperate, and then in the end is like, yeah, I'm actually a good warrior and I've helped, and
I threw his gun.
Even that, yeah, I threw him his gun. But like even that, it's not really character development. You're absolutely right. It's like we're getting a snapshot of a much bigger world that has things going on, and I really liked that. I thought it was really, really well done. Atmosphere wise, I just really didn't like the ending. But knowing the situation now, I'm almost inclined to give it a 5, but I'm going to give it a 4 because there were some logic beats that I thought, especially in the last part, which I've already outlined, that I thought Killy should have done.
I think I know why you love this world so much. A deep end ending, possibly procedurally generated city.
Yes.
Where you can create a role-playing game or a roguelike sci-fi world.
You got it, man. That's it.
I ain't gonna lie, a Blam role-playing game.
Oh, that'd be great.
Dice and paper, that doesn't sound like the worst thing ever.
Survive.
This actually sounds pretty great.
It does.
I would like to make an extra comment that I ship Killy and Sibo.
Well,
I think Sibo does too. Gilly obviously does not care.
Is that as arm Sibo or is that as like full body Sibo?
You know what?
Either way,
if he's an AI, I don't think he cares.
Okay, gotcha.
Like their marriage could literally just be him putting that arm on as his arm. He's like, now we're together.
I thought that's what they were gonna do.
That actually probably would make sense.
Yep.
Okay, our next anime is Outlaw Star, because we are now in the phase of Baka. We're at the start of the new year. Jeremy and Jason get to pick whatever anime they want. Anything they want to show everybody, anything they missed, doesn't matter. They get to pick it. There is one question I still have for you, Jeremy. How many episodes are we watching?
So I think an arc ends on 12. So let's go 1 through 12 and
watch our Twitter in case.
Yeah, just in case.
So yeah, and then after those 2 weeks, Jason will be picking his anime, and we'll be very excited to watch that. And then we'll be back to our regular schedule, picking newer stuff. One thing I want to say before we go, I happened to stumble upon our Apple reviews, or what are those called?
iTunes
reviews. Thank you. I didn't know they were there. No, we didn't get any alerts, and we've been doing this a while, and we're not a very big podcast. So we don't get many reviews. The people who have left us reviews, especially the ones who left comments and stuff, that was so nice of you. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate that. That really boosted morale around here, especially after the holiday season and stuff. It was really good to read such kind words. So thank you very much to those who left us reviews. We really do appreciate that. And if you would like to comment on the movie we just watched, on any future content we're having, or have any suggestions for us, you can leave them on our Twitter at Baka Podcast, or send us an email, theanimebakaclub@gmail.com, or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast, and we'll get back to it. Next week, we're doing a mini-sode with battling, so that'll be fun, and I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
Punching spaceships.
Thanks for listening.
Oh yeah, Tanya gave Blam a 4.5 as well.
She can't do decimals. Did you tell her we don't do decimals?
No, she says I don't care. I don't care about your rules.
Sayonara.